All right, let's dive into this week's business news. We're going to look at a big stumble from Amazon, the incredible rise of the creator economy, and a pretty serious warning on cybersecurity and what it all means for your business. So, we're not just looking at headlines, we're finding strategies you can actually use. Let's get into it.
So first up, and this is a big one, Amazon, the giant of just about everything, is actually pulling back on a major project here in the UK. But look, this isn't just news about some huge corporation. The real question for all of us is right here. What can their failed experiment teach your business?
Okay, so let's start with our first section, lessons from a tech giant. We're going to really break down this strategic pivot from Amazon and pull out some seriously powerful lessons from it. And here it is, the headline that kicked this whole thing off. Amazon is closing all 19 of its UK fresh grocery stores. Now, you probably remember these, the super high-tech, just walk-out stores. They launched with so much hype back in 2021. So what on earth went wrong? Well, it really seems like all that futuristic tech didn't actually solve a real-world problem for shoppers. And this quote from Danny Husson at AJ Bell, I think it just nails it. She said the till-less technology always felt a little awkward. It was a solution hunting for a problem. And that's the key, right? Tech for the sake of tech just isn't enough. It has to give customers a real, practical benefit they actually want. So what are the big takeaways from all this for your business? We've broken it down into 4 key lessons. First, you've got to test new ideas, but don't get so attached to them that you can't let go if they're not working. Second, play to your strengths. Amazon is now refocusing on online delivery, where they absolutely dominate. Third, and this is so crucial, your innovation has to solve a real customer problem. It can't just be a cool gadget. And finally, number 4, you have to be flexible enough to see when a strategy isn't working and be ready to adapt, and fast. All right, we've covered strategies, so now let's pivot and talk about growth. And honestly, one of the biggest opportunities out there right now is tapping into the creator economy to find totally new ways to expand your reach. And hey, if you think the creator economy is just some niche for social media influencers, you have got to look at this number. A new report from Oxford Economics found that YouTube creators alone contributed a mind-blowing £2.2 billion to the UK economy last year. That's huge. And it's not just about the money either. That same ecosystem supported the equivalent of 45,000 full-time jobs. This is not a fad, you guys. It's a massive economic force that has completely changed how people connect with brands and content. And this slide just illustrates that shift perfectly. Old marketing was all about pushing products and ads at people. But the creator economy, that's all about pulling them in by building a community and, most importantly, trust. Customers today, they want stories, they want interaction, they want something authentic, not just another sales pitch. So the big question is, how can your business start tapping into this? And the good news is, you really don't need a huge budget. Here are some fantastic starting points. You could experiment with short-form video on TikTok or YouTube Shorts, or maybe launch a simple podcast or a newsletter. Even just sharing what goes on behind the scenes can be incredibly powerful. The key to all of this is to just engage directly with your audience and start building that sense of community. Okay, so we've talked strategy and we've talked growth. Now let's talk about something just as critical, protection. Our third section is all about fortifying your foundations, making absolutely sure that the business you've worked so hard to build is secure. And the need for that protection is, well, it's urgent. Just look at this. According to government figures, UK businesses experienced an estimated 7.7 million cybercrimes in the last year alone. And this isn't just a problem for the big guys. It's a direct threat to every single business out there, no matter the size. So where do you even begin? Well, the National Cybersecurity Center recommends their Cyber Essentials program. And really, it boils down to these 5 core measures. And look, these aren't super complex, high-tech solutions. This is the absolute foundation. Using a firewall, choosing secure settings for your devices, controlling who has access to your data, protecting against malware, and just keeping everything up to date. This is really the baseline for defending your business. And building on that technical side, the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO, they highlight some daily habits that can create a really strong security culture. We're talking about things like using strong passwords. They actually recommend a 3 random words approach, which is brilliant, and being super alert to phishing emails, and of course, backing up your data regularly. It's all about making security a part of everyone's daily routine, not an afterthought. But here's the thing, protecting your business isn't just about digital threats. Sometimes the most damaging risks can come from the inside, from a simple failure of basic governance. Let's look at a pretty stark cautionary tale that illustrates this perfectly. This timeline just powerfully lays out the long-term consequences of ignoring the rules. So you have a businessman declared bankrupt way back in 2005. Then, for 2 years, between 2013 and 2015, he illegally acted as a company director. Now, the consequences weren't immediate, but wow, were they severe. Just last year, he was sentenced to 22 months in prison. And the result? He's now banned from being a director for 8 years. This is such a clear warning. You have to know the rules, and you have to follow them. Okay, and finally, let's take a quick look to the future, because a smart business is always scanning the horizon, right? Here are 2 key developments that should definitely be on your radar. So, 2 things to watch. First, the UK and the US have launched a joint task force on financial innovation. This could totally reshape the rules for things like crypto and digital assets. So that's one to keep an eye on. And second, if your business relies on innovation, listen up. The UK's Intellectual Property Office is launching a new One IPO service in early 2026, and the whole point is to make the patent process way simpler and more accessible. So we have covered a lot today. We've talked about learning from Amazon's strategy, tapping into the creator economy for real growth, and of course, fortifying your foundations with solid security and governance. And that really brings us to our final question for you to take away this week. When you look at your own business, right now, today, which of these 3 pillars, strategy, growth, or security, needs to be your #1 priority? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.